Hey everyone, and welcome to An Eventful Life with Brad Cox and Shane Buzzer. I'm Brad.
And I'm Shane.
An Eventful Life is the podcast where we take you on a journey through eventful lives of inspirational event leaders from around the world.
That's right, Brad. We'll be sharing their stories, impact, and insight into the complex world of events. So if you like these stories, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your mates.
This is An Eventful Life. Buzz, welcome. How are you, mate?
I'm doing okay. How you doing today?
Yeah, all right, mate. I know you've had a busy weekend. Have you recovered?
Yeah, I'll eventually get some food into me and maybe sleep in my own bed at some point. But look, it's a huge time for events right now. Things happening every weekend, so it's great to be involved.
Yeah, nice. I saw the team out and about, so
Yeah.
very good. And you're gallivanting all over the place.
I'm everywhere at the moment, but wouldn't have it any other way. What about yourself? What's happening?
Another busy weekend, mate. So a little bit the same. I was attending events this weekend, though, so that was exciting. It's nice to be on the other side of the fence occasionally.
That's more your style, isn't it now?
it
That's
went
how
all
you roll.
right, so
Yeah.
try to get into many as we can these days. Hey, I'm a little nervous about today's episode, Buzz. We have a genuine superstar sitting in front of us. He's the musical director for one of my favourite artists of all time, Mr. John Farnham, and has been the musical director for multiple Olympic and Commonwealth Games, including arrangements for Kylie Minogue, Sari Blasco, Paul Kelly, and many more. He has steered the ship on TV shows such as Dancing with the Stars and The Logies, and has produced numerous albums for the elite of Australian and global music. A two-time ARIA nominee, an Order of Australia recipient. Would you please welcome the music legend, Mr. Chong Lim? Chong.
Please don't be nervous. I'm more nervous looking at you. I'm shaking my pants.
Oh, mate, I got the sweats up when you walked in through the front door. No, it's great to have you here, and thank you very much for joining us.
I think you had the sweats because you were worried I'd steal your TV.
Oh, no, come on. That's all right. I don't know. You're looking very comfy on the Eventful Life couch in front of us, so that's always good to see. Make yourself at home. And
yes, I'm taking that home.
It goes all right. So nice comfy blanket.
I'm really excited about this episode. You know that, Brad.
I know.
You know, yes, Chong, we've worked together and we've known each other a while now, but
yes.
I'm excited to hear about the pre. Or, you know, before we met, I want to hear about all that.
days.
Yeah, the pre-Buzz Chong days. So
Before I used to get my free bacon and eggs from you every meeting.
yeah, whatever you wanted, it was there for you. You know that. But no, I'm pretty pumped about this one.
Where's
so,
the bacon and eggs today? I know it's a bit late in the day when we're recording this one, but come on, mate.
next time.
He's
Next
very,
time.
very, very generous.
Yeah.
Hey, let's get into it. Chong, I wanted to ask and sort of go back in time, as Buzz said a little bit there. You're a musical director now, but where did your love for music come from, and where did all that start at what age?
I come from a tiny little town in Malaysia called Ipoh, very small place, not much to do, but my parents were music lovers. They weren't musicians, but they were music lovers. They had about 2,000 albums, vinyl LPs, and they had so many albums. My mum would number them and make a book, with indexes and all that stuff. And, they played a lot of, Mantovani and that kind of thing, music stuff. And they were kind of famous for the hi-fi system. And every night friends would come by and listen to their hi-fi. And they played records till midnight every night. And so I got exposed to music. Even though it was music, but music's music. So I absorbed it all and learned to love it. And being an Asian, person, I was forced to go to piano lessons. My mom wasn't Tiger; she was Leopardish, I went to piano lessons. And when I finished my the top grade 8 pretty early in my life, about 15 or something like that.
Wow. When did you start playing? How old were you?
I think about 5 or something.
Yeah, wow.
Drilled, And I thought, well, I've finished. Now I can. They tell me pop music's easy. I'll play any pop music. Then I couldn't play anything, and so I had to retrain myself to use my ears to learn to play anything I heard.
Yep.
And so my parents' interest piqued my interest in music and my love of music because we were surrounded by music all day, every day. Yeah.
And did you pick that up easily when you sort of started to look at other genres and stuff? Like, did it come naturally, or did you find yourself having to really work hard at that?
And do you remember the first song you learnt as well?
Yeah, it was Carpenter's Rainy Days and Mondays. And I didn't even know about tuning. I played I bought a book and played the tune to the track, and it wasn't in tune, and I couldn't figure it out. And luckily, I was hanging out with a really good friend, a guitar player, and he showed me a lot about chords and harmonies and all that. So I learned a lot that from him.
Yeah, right. And you grew up in Malaysia, as you said.
Yes.
When did you move to Australia, and was there a reason behind that move?
I was about 17 when I moved to Australia, went to boarding school at Geelong College. And, a lot of students from Malaysia go overseas when they hit year 12, because at that stage, we didn't have a very good education system. So all parents saved money to send the kids to either England or Canada or USA or Australia or New Zealand.
Were you on your own, Chong?
Yeah. Went to boarding school,
Was that difficult, moving away from the family?
It was a little difficult, but you learn to grow up quick.
Yeah, totally. Hey, for those that are listening that don't understand sort of what a musical director is in terms of the role, give us an idea of sort of what does a typical project or sort of task look like, and how do you go about your work as it stands today?
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure it out myself.
You'll get there one day.
Yeah. Well, a musical director does different things in different situations. Say, with the John Farnham Band or the Kylie Minogue Band, I'm the musical director. That means I'm on top of all the music. I know what's needed, and we have really good musicians. You can't tell the great musicians how to play, but you certainly can guide them in a certain direction.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in a movie, Steven Spielberg directing Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford doesn't need acting lessons. So, it's Steven Spielberg's job to guide him towards what he needs. And so my job is to guide these top musicians into what I need. And sometimes I have to do arrangements. Say, if we play with the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra, I'll write the charts out for the symphony orchestra, and then there's other things like that's when I first met Buzz Cut Shane. We worked on the Olivia Newton-John gala ball, and my role in that is because those things have a lot of different artists. My role would be to liaise with the artists and make them comfortable and help them choose the tunes, and then get the keys from them and prepare the band for them. And you've got to be pretty together to do all that stuff. And you're working with really good artists who feel insecure because they're not with their band. So you got to make them feel comfortable. That sort of thing. And then on a TV show like Dancing with the Stars, the musical director will prepare all the charts and kind of coach the band.
Yep.
You know what you want from them, but they don't need to be told what to do. They're very good, like a coach in a football team, know?
Yep.
Yeah.
And look, music's such a tough industry to crack, Chong. And so what were the early days like for you as a musician in Australia, and how did you kind of go about building your career and reputation?
When I started, I started off as a jazz pianist, and I just really wanted to play jazz, and I was boarding at Melbourne Uni, Ormond College, and I met famous classical tenor singer David Hobson, and we became good friends. I was a mechanical engineering student, and he was an economics student, but we played music together, and so we formed some kind of band, and we played a lot. And then I met another person at the college, and his best friend happened to be Willie Zigier. Willie Zigier is a great guitar player, and who's the other half of the successful Deborah Conway band, and he was very kind, and he was in the scene already, and he got me into bands. We were playing jazz, and jazz is a whole system of what we call dapping.
Yep.
If you're booked for a certain gig, and the keyboard player might not be able to do the gig. He might be doing something with Vince Jones. So they go, well, we'll call someone else, and we'll really, who do you think? And he would recommend me to all these gigs. So I got into the scene that way, and one thing led to another, and I got into a few bands and all that stuff. So I learned my craft that way in gigs. Pretending to know everything and knew nothing. Yeah.
And was that tough as a musician back then in terms of comparing it to today's musicians, or was it very similar? Or like, have you seen that sort of train progress a lot?
Well, I don't know what the scene is now, but when I started out, it was a little intimidating, and you know, like everyone knew everyone, and you walked in, and you know, you're feeling a little left out, and you try to be part of the scene. You know, hey man, you know, being kind of cool, but you know, you soon meet people you like and who will help you, and that's like how I started. You know, it was kind of intimidating. You know, hanging out with these incredible musicians, and here I was, little old me, just fresh from Malaysia.
Going in from sort of, I guess, performer to producer, you know, into world-class music director, was musical direction always your goal, or how did you make that sort of transition into that role?
Well, I don't know. I think I stumbled upon it, but you know, I was playing, you know, so being the keyboard player, you tend to have to know a lot about the music, and so it was natural that people gravitated to me to ask me to be the musical director. And my big break was joining John Farnham's band, and after I don't know, 6 months or a year, I became the musical director. You know,
which is interesting. You know, you've had a long-standing relationship with John in particular. It started back in '94, I believe, on his Talk the Town tour.
Yeah.
You've now done, to my calculation, sort of 15 national tours or over that, countless shows and albums with John. How did that first come about, and that opportunity? And you know, you talk about opening doors and all these people leading you into
how'd
that.
you meet him, really? Yeah.
Yeah, well, he had the best keyboard player in the country as his musical director, this guy called David Hirschfelder. Yeah. And when David Hirschfelder left, because he had success with Strictly Ballroom and he wanted to go into the world of film music, he quit the band, and they were looking for someone, and David was a good friend, and David recommended me, and so did Lindsay Field, you know, the backing vocalist. And so they tried me out, and fortunately they liked me. Yeah.
That's all it was.
Like
they
my
just
bad
liked you.
jokes.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, I they invited me to play at the Arias with him at Dream World, and I went and did the gig, and we played Talk of the Town, and unbeknownst to me, it was a little audition to check me out, and I think I passed because
Clearly.
You know, I still remember to this day when I drove up to his studio, which used to be in Ringwood, and driving up this dirt path up the hill, and there's John Farnham comes out and says hi. You know, this very good looking, confident, tall man, and he comes, hi, I'm John. I thought, what? You've got to introduce. I know you're John. You're famous, you know. So I shook his hand, and then you know, my keyboards were in cardboard boxes. I couldn't afford road cases. He said, don't worry about that. We'll buy you some road cases. I thought, oh, how nice.
This is sounding good.
Yeah, sounding good.
Well, it's 30 years ago, so I reckon you passed that one, Chong. And,
I've had about 3,000 road cases made from
excellent. And what's it like working with such an icon? And I guess, can you give us an insight into how, from your side as a musical director, you go about putting together a tour with the John Farnham or something like that?
Well, I'll go back, because after we did that gig, we were in the bus driving back to Brisbane, and then, you know, John was on the phone, mobile phone in those days, the bricks, and to Glenn Wheatley, and he goes, first concert gone, sold out, and everyone's excited. Yeah, and I'm going, yeah, okay.
Have I got a gig?
I'm pretending. Oh yeah, great. But I didn't want to pretend to be part of it, so I was kind of laid back. Oh, the 7th concert gone in 3 minutes, and I go, oh, okay, yeah, cool. You know, trying to be, you know, up vibe for them, but I knew I wasn't going to be part of it.
Yep.
But then I got the call to do that tour. So unbeknownst to me, it would have been a little triumph for me to see whether I could do the tour or not.
Yep.
And you know, it's important in John Farnham's entourage that you're a good musician and you get along with people. This is a whole family atmosphere.
Yeah.
Like, you got to get along with the band and with the management and with the road crew, and so you've got to go through a lot of tests. they check out your jokes, whether your dad jokes are good or bad.
Oh, I think he'd lead the way, the jokes I've heard. And the trivia, I believe, on Christmas Day goes down well too.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of stories in that regard. Was the audition just for keyboards, or was it music director at the same time, or was
just
that just sort of
keyboards.
happened?
Yeah, I think they just needed someone. It wasn't officially an audition. I just played in the band, and I guess they wanted to see whether I fitted in or not, and whether I could play or not. And following up your question, Shane, working with John, it has been a privilege. And, my workings with John involve like putting together a concert, and then I would be the first cab off the rank. I suss out from him what he wants to do, first of all. And, him and Glenn Whitley would figure out a theme for the concert, and then I'd put together a set list and run it by John, and John says, yep, okay, we'll do that one. That one I don't want to do. I've done it too many times, and I set up the set list. You've got to design a set list to captivate the audience. Yep. I always say the slow songs make the fast ones sound exciting, and the fast ones make the slow songs sound tender and emotional. Yep. So you got to balance the set list.
It's highs and lows,
and keep it fresh too, I imagine, John.
Absolutely, yeah. Because we've done those songs so many times. Yeah. A large repertoire is good. You've got some huge amounts of things to mine from. But on the other hand, you cannot avoid the hits. Like you can't do a concert with John Farnham without doing Pressure Down. You're the voice. You've got to have those songs, but you got to fit them in amongst all these plethora of songs. You've got to put something interesting, or fresh, or new, and yet you've got to give the fans what they want. They want that's freedom. They want every time you cry, you're the voice and all that stuff. You got to give them
Reasons was always my one.
Yeah, so. Reasons.
And I know he loves an AC/DC song as part of the...
Yeah, along with it to top.
Yeah.
See the set list done. Well, 3/4 of it. Then it probably gets hard to fill in the small gaps.
Yeah, so. we call it Long Way to the Top if you want a sausage roll.
Yeah. Hey, I've heard a few stories about tours in the past, and while we won't name names, other than they sound like a lot of fun, as you sort of alluded to before on the bus, and that family sort of bond, and it's a bit like a giant traveling circus. Can you tell us a bit about that touring lifestyle, working with these artists, between John and Kylie and how touring maybe has evolved from when you started back then to how the industry and touring
probably
looks now?
Social media, I imagine, now and everything.
Yeah, these days it's very different. But in those days, as I said, it's like a family. The band members are really good friends, and we'd hang out in a musician's room, and we a tour consists of you rehearse for 3 weeks before a big tour. You get all the songs right, and then the production right, and they'll tell you like, look, you got to stand over there, stage right in this song, and so you got to run through all that stuff as well. Especially this tour called Jack of Hearts tour, we had a revolving stage in the middle of Rod Laver Arena, which was spinning around, and so we had to rehearse jumping on it, spinning, and then running off and running into the light for your solo and all that stuff, and you get all that down, and then you have production rehearsal. You go to the stadium and rehearse that stuff, and then you're on the road. It consists of buses and planes. You spend your whole life in airports waiting to be carted off, and then I think every inch of your life is dictated by the tour. You get to a hotel, they've got your rooms booked, and you do that kind of stuff too. So we get into our rooms, and then there's the newsletter for the day, like 4:30 lobby call. You go 4:30, get in the bus and go to the venue, and you go to the venue and have a sound check, an elaborate sound check to make sure everything's okay, and then you have dinner there, and then it's a concert, and after the concert, you either meet the fans or you go back to the hotel and hang out at the house bar.
Now, many probably don't know, but you produced the music for one of the most well-known TV commercials in the country, I Still Call Australia Home, in 1998 for Qantas, alongside another Australian music legend in Lindsay Field. That year, you were also the music director for Grease, the Arena Spectacular. And so how did these roles come about, and how did you go juggling multiple roles and projects at the same time?
You're foolish. You have to be stupid to do all this stuff. The Qantas one was my career and life changed when I joined John Farnham's band. Everyone wants to know, and I still call Australia home was an idea of Glenn Wheatley's, and Glenn hobnobs with the rich and famous and successful, and he had a relationship with Qantas, and he presented this idea to them, and then Glenn called me and Lindsay to put the ad together. So I kind of devised ways of rehashing that song, to fit all these
That's awesome.
singers and make it modernize it a little bit, and that's when I hired the Australian Girls Choir, who have benefited a lot lately. Like they just recently did that Qantas anniversary dinner at the hangar. They're still benefiting from it. Yeah,
100%. So
yeah.
we had them on the middle of the Rod Laver Arena doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So
What a
it's
great
like, keep going.
concept, though. Yeah.
It's great.
And then Greece, because John was in it, I was obviously asked to do the tour.
Yep.
There were other artists involved, but when John's involved, he's everything.
Yeah.
Nothing else matters to the promoters and all that. So I got as I said, I got the job because of people's kindness. So I was the musical director of that, and that was a good test of my musical directorship. I rearranged all the songs to fit the modern era, and I was allowed to.
And those relationships you touch on, obviously, you've built trust. And John trusts you, and you know him, and that family component.
Yeah.
Does working with that caliber of artist for any budding musical director or musician out there, does that, by creating that trust and that bond and working hard, does that open opportunities for you and your career organically, or do you still have to sort of chase and hustle? I know you sort of said you've gone from one thing to the next, but
I've never chased or hustled for a gig. People call me, and I, as I said to you, you just try to do your best, and someone will notice, and somewhere along the line, someone will go, "Oh, I've got this job. I think I'll call Chong. He was pretty good in the last one I did." I don't ring people and go, hey, I'm free. Do you want a cheap musical director? And so, like, I don't leave any stone unturned and dot my I's and cross my T's, and I try to do the best I can. And in any profession, your industry as well, if you do a bad job, no one will call you back.
Yeah, you're only as good as your last gig, as they say.
If the main course is cold, you're dead. Yeah,
totally. You've become a bit of a large ceremony genius, I guess you could call it, over the years. Probably most notably your success at the 2000 Sydney Olympics, where you composed a large portion of the music for the opening and closing ceremonies, including songs for Olivia Newton-John and John Farnham, and arrangements for Kylie, and you wrote the theme song for the Olympics. To say involved is probably underselling it a bit, but how did this role come about? And tell us about the process, I guess, in producing those large-scale ceremony events.
Yeah, I won't big note myself by saying I composed a theme song, but I composed one segment of the opening ceremony, and that came about, like they invited, I don't know how many composers to submit ideas, and I submitted one originally, but didn't get the job, and David Hirschfelder got the job.
Oh, right.
He got the plum role, the climax of the opening ceremony with the bridge and the tap dancers, and I thought, well, that's it. It's done. I'm done. And then a few months later, they called me and said, look, we love your music, and we've got this segment perfect. Your music's perfect for that. Will you come in? And I said, okay. And
who calls you? Sorry to interrupt there. Who calls you in that process? Is that producers of the shows?
Rick Birch and his office, and David Atkins and his office, and so I was summoned to Sydney, to Homebush, and I started. What was meant to be a 4-minute piece, it became a 12-minute piece. It grew and grew every week. They go, we've got this new bit, like it's. The flowers become this indigenous painting. Can you do something there? Okay. And then suddenly, okay, we love that. But at 12 minutes, 10 seconds, Nikki Webster flies in the air and she sprinkles fairy dust, and then the flowers light up. And so you got to think, okay, I'll do that. And there's a lot of detail there.
Yeah, right.
And in those days, you complete a demo, you can't email them. You got to burn a CD, which takes time.
Put it in the post.
And then put in the post overnight and send to them. And they'll call you, and everyone sits in a room and listens to the CD. And sometimes the CD doesn't work.
Yep.
And so it was a huge process.
What's the time frame on a project like that?
That
for
took a
listeners?
year.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Wow.
And besides that, I was also involved in producing Dare to Dream for John Farnham and Olivia Newton-John, and Heroes Live Forever for Vanessa Amorosi, and for Nikki Webster, I can't remember the name of the song. What was it? Well, you can research it. But that's the skill of, like, if you ask about production, that's the skill of a producer.
Under the Southern Skies.
Under the Southern Skies, yes. And the Under the Southern Skies came as a very simple demo, but I changed the sound of it and the chords in it and made it into a more modern pop song. And Heroes Live Forever too was a fantastic demo that the writer sent in, but it was very, 80s rock style, and I turned it into a slightly dance orientated. Like, I was listening a lot to Madonna then, and of the Madonna's Ray of Light album, and that
awesome.
influenced me to do Heroes Live Forever like that. And then right at the end they said, we need a fanfare at the start because we're going to drag this flag along the audience, and then so back to the drawing board and had to do this other thing, and that's the life of a producer,
it's the
composer.
reality,
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
And so, and how'd you end up doing Dancing Queen for Kylie? I think it was in the closing. Is that sort of, again, part of that organic process? Hey, Chong, we need some help here, mate. Or
Well, I had already done the Kylie Mono tour, live and intimate, and we had done Dancing Queen, so they wanted it reproduced for the Olympics. So they asked me, obviously, to do it, and we had done it with synthesizers on the tour, but we had the money, Olympics, so I got members of the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra to play on it. And so, and also while I was doing all that, I was playing with John and Olivia as well. And as you know, it was events heavy in Sydney, and I was playing every night during the Olympics, and prior to the Olympics, doing gigs for Ansett. I think that's how they went broke.
So I was going to
Paying
say,
your fees.
some people listening may not know who Ansett are, but that's okay.
They
We won't get
used
into
to be
that.
an airline for anyone who'd like to know.
Yeah, they used to be Virgin Airlines.
Yeah.
And so we did a lot every night gigs with them. I was in Sydney, like after the opening ceremony, doing gigs every night and to a lot of people. And then I got a call from the Olympics office. They said, we need one more piece, and it's the ceremony for the music for the ceremonial Olympic flag going around the stadium, and then they hoist the flag, and they said we need about 4 minutes or something. And so I said, okay, but I'm in Sydney, so I had to fly back to Melbourne to write the piece, and because there was no laptop music production units, and so I flew back to Melbourne and wrote the piece very quickly. And you have to demo up the piece so that they can hear what you're trying to do. You can't send them a piece of sheet music.
No.
And you can't play just piano and no one will hear it.
Full
And
orchestration.
visualize it, right, Chong? As in, it needs to be visualized
Yeah.
in accordance to the chord and the arrangement.
Exactly. So I sent them the demo and they liked it, so we recorded it. Yeah. So,
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you want to go through the list?
Oh, well, I tell you what, it went nuts after that. So,
Yeah.
because, following on from that massive global Australian event, you sort of ended up in ceremonial land in terms of events. But
Still are.
have a listen to this. MD for Commonwealth Games in Manchester 2002, composed for Melbourne 2006 Com Games and 2014 Glasgow Com Games. You were the MD for the 2006 Asian Games in Doha, MD for 2015 Asian Cup, MD for the Melbourne Cup, the AFL Grand Final, the 2020-21 Big Bash Cricket League, and the 2021 and 22 Australian Open final ceremonies. Do you ever sleep?
No, no. What is that?
Yeah.
I can vouch that Chong will send emails and texts through it all times of the evenings.
No, I think it's great testament. I mean, you've obviously got amazing work ethic, but what draws you to take on those enormous global sporting events? There must be some sort of attraction.
Well,
there that keeps signing up.
it's exciting. You know, like you do functions and events and you might be busy, but if someone asks you to do something exciting, you'll take it.
Yep.
It's your life. You know, and it's a little cliched, but music is my life. And anytime, like those ceremonies, they have budgets. Like the Olympics was crazy. You know, so you're given free reign to exert your creativity and allowed orchestras to record and choirs and all that. So you know, it's exciting, and then it's exciting when they say, oh, at this time someone will fly in and then a turkey will appear and all that. And you go, oh yeah, cool. You know, it's kind of exciting.
Where do you get your inspiration from in your creativity? Because it's hard to keep being creative on and on again, and we always struggle with that. Not struggle with it, but it's a challenge.
And just to kind of come up with something new.
Come up with something new and those inspirations. Do you have stuff that you draw on yourself in terms of influences?
Not really. Like I've always been a doodler. Like I tell my son, who's a composer also, and I said, you know, you're like me, you're a doodler. You sit at the piano and just play anything.
Yep.
So you tend to generate a lot of ideas. If someone says, now I want this piece to be this flying bike across the mountains, so you go, okay, sit at the piano and doodle and go, oh yeah, that sounds right. But I guess what I do, anyone can do it. But the difference is you got a taste meter in your brain. You go, okay, that idea is good. I will use that. That's the difference. You see, you know, you have to have a taste, a certain taste in music, and also to interpret people's briefs.
Yeah.
So
from
you
directors and producers.
Yeah, you got to try to
visions.
Yeah, you got to try to understand what people want and hear.
But like some of these events that we've referred to, Chong, the progression, it needs to be powerful, doesn't it? Because it's on TV. It's it's amongst a huge crowd.
Yeah.
So is that something that you go over and over as far as that progression?
Yeah, and also you got to think there are billion people watching this thing on TV, and in the stadium, 120,000 people. How do we make it, you know, warm and lush and big? And
you're creating for two different audiences. You got your live environment, your audience, and then you got your TV audience, which are completely opposite.
Yeah.
And I think music in particular, though, it's such an important part of our events, and probably gets
I'm glad you said that.
Oh, I think it's such an integral part of the storyline and linking everything together. So even when we go from segment to segment, the way you craft a show, you know, the music undertones from things like walk-in music to background music to feature performances to party bands to the highs and lows that you were talking about before. It's such an integral role.
You know, you take people on a journey.
Yeah,
you know, basically.
Yeah, and the music is part of that. So and a very important part.
And at that level, there is a method to the madness, right, Chong, as far as what you are putting together and.
Yeah, I guess you know, you always go small and grow the piece into something spectacular, and take people on little emotional journeys, and people go, whoa, wow.
It plays on the senses, you know, and that real heartfelt moment in particular, and those kind of styles.
So Chong, we met working on the O&J Gala events, which we touched on. That was 10 years ago.
Yeah, wow.
How do you find the different dynamic of working, I guess, a more traditional corporate style of event that we did versus a live concert performance, especially because the quality of performers we worked with were amazing, but it was still that, you know, more intimate setting versus a concert.
I treat every gig the same. You know, I treat it like a big concert, but in those corporate events is a little different because you have to have different artists come in and you have to work with them and shape their songs for the night. And as I said, you got to win their confidence. But hopefully I've been around enough that people go, oh, okay, Chong, it's fine. We'll work with him. You know, in the old days, people say, who the hell's that?
Yeah.
We're not working with him. Who is he? you know, and but for a concert for an artist like Olivia Newton-John or Kylie Minogue or John Farnham, you work on their strengths and their repertoire. You know, to help them shine and to make the songs fresh. But you know, the only difference is the number of people.
Yeah.
And in a way, it's harder to do those corporate events because people are drunk.
We had Barry Gibb, remember? Yeah,
that's
absolute
right.
Superstar, global superstar.
Yeah. And he was really nice. That's what I mean. by doing your best. He came up to me and said, "Look, Chong, this band is as good as my band." That's really nice.
Yeah.
And you try to make everything incredible for them. And like recently, I did the Robbie Williams tour and the thing at the Grand Final, and he said, "Man, this better." Like he was probably being nice, but he said, "Hey, he insinuated that our band was pretty good, and it's nice to get that acknowledgement,
It did sound pretty awesome on Grand Final day, Chong, so congrats on that one.
And it's hard for them. They've got their own band, they turn up, and they got to deal with this band they know nothing about. They're uneasy, their reputation's at stake. You got to do your best.
Yeah. How long do you rehearse for something like that? And is it daunting having one of those international stars walk in on your band, wondering what they're going to think?
Not really, because they're like you and I. They're just people.
Yeah.
You gotta not be intimidated by them, so that they relax. You don't go the first time you meet them. Hey, can I have a selfie? I have never had a selfie with any artist I've worked with. And when I do press, sometimes they say, "Oh, have you got a photo with Kylie Minogue or John Farnham?" I go, "I don't know. I don't think so. I can't find it."
That's great though. Your memories are very much etched in your brain and in your heart. So, one of the things Buzz and I talk about quite a bit is we believe the music and events industries, are directly linked. We're all in the business of entertainment, with both industries working together more often than not in what we do. How is the event industry, as it's in its own little bucket, seen in the world of, say, the music industry, if we were to separate the two? And do you think there needs to be more collaboration and unity between the two in the future?
How can you have the cheek to ask this question when I haven't had a call from you? Thank you very much. Just kidding. It's the synergy is important, and I guess I'm open to any suggestions, and if I get a good brief, we work together a lot. Like poor Shane, he'd get a call at 9:30 p.m. going, "Shane, I reckon we should do this." He goes, "Huh? There's a reason why you ring them so late, you see." They're shocked and they say yes to anything you suggest.
See, there's always
probably half drunk at the
there's
time.
a strategy in the play. Get the producer on side.
Yeah, I think it's like, as you say, if you a lot of people don't understand the power of music, but some people do. And, I call music the fourth dimension, because music will manipulate your emotions, and you can have incredible visuals, whatever visuals you like, but the music is what tells you how to feel,
interpret the story.
Yeah. Like the perfect example is film school. They often have this video of this guy with a hat and a coat and a suitcase, a briefcase, walking down a narrow street in silhouette, and they play serious music, a scary music, and it becomes a horror movie. They put a vaudevillian funny tune and it becomes a comedy, or they put a really sad song and it becomes a sad scene. So music manipulates the audience to feel a certain way.
Even look at it's not social media, what am I saying? A reality TV, and that dramatic music over some of the most cringeworthy scenes you'll ever see, right?
That's to me, that's why Married at First Sight works, that the music is so over the top.
Is that
incredible.
You in the background? Is that you playing in the background? No, you're not part of that.
But I have to confess I'm addicted to Married at First Sight. We'll have an episode discussing that.
Wow.
Look at
we need to. And I guess that is a good trigger for our next question, Chong, is so you moved into TV. I mean, you were always doing TV here and there, but you moved more into TV, and you were the MD for Dancing with the Stars, the Logies, which I guess is more of a live event produced for TV, Good Friday Appeal, which this week. Do you like to do TV, and do you find these roles very different than your live work?
Well, TV is a different beast. It's all about timings. You can't go over 3 minutes or 4 minutes or something, and it's very demanding. There are a lot of bosses, and they tell you what to do, and even though they have no idea, but you have to say yes. And something like Dancing with the Stars was really grueling, because I work all week on the music, and finish the charts and all that, and sometimes I finish on Friday night or Saturday morning about 6 a.m. and then the rehearsals 8 a.m. Got to get to the studio and be fresh and know the parts so that you can help the band realize the music, and then we rehearse and record our rehearsal so that the dancers, when they fly in, they can listen like they've been practicing to the original CD,
Yep.
which is kind of shocking when you hear a real band play it. So we prepare them by pre-recording our rehearsal, and then on the Sunday morning we get in about midday, and they've been rehearsing all morning to our rehearsal recording, and then we play live so that they can dance to us, and then they run the show once, and that's it. And it's dinner time, and you go, oh my God, it's 7 p.m.
Yeah.
We're going on air soon. So it's very immediate, and you cannot make any mistakes. I think we've done thousands of songs. We've done 15 seasons of Dancing with the Stars at an average of 100 songs a series. So you can imagine the number of songs. And we've only effed up twice.
Do you remember what those
I was
two
gonna
times
say,
were?
which ones were they?
One was an ambient piece. I can't remember the name now. An ambient pop piece, and this particular couple had to get tens to survive.
Oh no!
And then it was like the really floaty piece, and then the lead singer he had a moment, and he forgot to come in, and then he woke up, I guess, and meanwhile, and it's one of those artistic pieces, no beat, and so they were relying on the lyrics to survive.
the timing,
And there was no lyric. So at the end, Todd McKinney says, "Chong, what happened?" He decided to pick on me. I say, "Yeah, I'm sorry." That was the first time we messed up, and the couple got all tens anyway, and then got through to the final or something like that.
There you
right,
go.
you got off.
Yeah, all because of you. Nice.
Yeah. So you have to wear your mistakes live.
Hey, what's sort of next for you? I guess, do you have any in terms of your career and stuff? I mean, you've done so much, but do you have any aspirations? Is there things that you still have unachieved that you'd like to set about getting to?
I've got to complete my mortgage payments
Oh, no.
like everyone else.
It's
You
getting
gotta keep
harder and harder
working.
by the day. At the moment.
I think I'm close to retirement age, so I'll just sail into the sunset, I guess.
I can't believe you'd ever do that. Based on what we've heard.
I wouldn't have
You
thought
love it
so.
too much.
Well, there are challenges. If the AFL want me back, I'll try to do the grand finals and do it well, and they're fun gigs to do because they're big, and I'm slated to do a few movies next year for Netflix, and I'll look forward to
awesome.
that. Yeah.
Yep.
Is that different? Obviously, it's different, but you just talked about TV and what that involves. On a movie, is that just as grueling? But
Yeah.
yeah.
You got to please a lot of people. Yeah, and you when you do a movie, you go through what is you get sent the script, and then you go through what is called a spotting session. You sit with the director, and the director runs through the movie, and then says, "Okay, this scene here we don't need any music. This scene here there should be loud bang, and this scene has to be sad music. I don't want too much in it." And then you kind of interpret what they want, and you do a little demo and play to them. If they like it, then you record it.
It'd be a bit reactive too at times, wouldn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
And also these days it's easier with the computers and all that.
Yep.
Like the syncing is very easy. In the old days, you'd get a VHS tape
Oh, wow.
and then you got to rewind, and then one side of the output would be the time code feeding into your computer.
Yep.
And it takes a little while for the time code to catch up. So you have to rewind 20 seconds before the scene and start, and then the computer will catch up. Yeah. And so it was very difficult to write music for pictures, Yeah.
Crazy. Unbelievable. Hey, how do you, I guess one of the questions we like to sort of ask everyone is, for you in your role and your daily life, how do you challenge yourself day in, day out, and sort of moving forward to stay at the top of what you do and the top of your craft?
Yeah. I try to find out what's the latest and the best Chinese restaurant there is in Chinatown for my supper. I know. Look, that's why I watch things like Married at First Sight and listen to the radio, because I feel like I have to understand popular culture and what intrigues the general public. So I keep in touch with all that stuff, though I draw the line at Instagram and TikTok. But you know, it's my job to try to understand it all. And
You miss out on half of Buzz's life if you're not on Instagram.
Oh, come
Yeah.
on.
Oh,
Don't-
he's
don't
all
be like
over
that,
it.
yeah,
mate.
he's the one doing the weights.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Please.
So,
This is
anyway,
a
sorry,
family
I
show,
interrupted.
yeah.
This isn't about me. It's about Chong. Come on. Yeah.
And you know, so I try to keep up with what's happening right now and the sounds and all that. And that's why Dancing with the Stars was really good, because we used to do a lot of top 20 hits. And so I figured out what was happening today and all that. And so I still listen and do my research, though I love listening to, you know, songs, music from my era, which is like 1950, like 1950s and so
Every
on.
era,
And I guess you know, with computers ruling our lives, you've got to get on top of your computers and find out what the latest software is and try to learn them. And musically, you know, I'm still listening to a lot of stuff and trying to figure out what they do. You know, it's a perpetual learning experience being a musician.
You mentioned before about like VHS tapes versus like modern technology and
Yeah.
stuff. Has that been difficult to manage the change in that technology development in your role over the years, or you just find yourself adapting organically?
Not really, because I've always been into technology, and I was a mechanical engineering student at Melbourne Uni, so I was kind of easily into that sort of stuff. But you know, you got to keep up with the times, you know. And software is supposed to make it easier for you, but sometimes they make it hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things, we have a lot of event producers and event managers, you know, that listen to this podcast. For them to work with a musical director, what is a couple of your tips or advice to those, you know, to that skill set in terms of what they should think about engaging and working with someone like yourself?
Listen to me, because I'm always right.
Perfect. I love it.
He is. Yeah.
I think the brief is really important, and to tell the musical director what you want from the night or what you want from a certain performance, and you know, if you get yourself across, we will understand.
I found too, Chong, when we worked together a while ago, you just can't be too rigid, right? You know, you guys need to do your thing.
Yes.
So,
They
Yes.
do their craft.
Yes,
you know.
and like we are not rigid, like not this grand final, but the grand final before in Perth.
yeah.
You know, things were changing all the time. At first, a segment was 20 minutes, then it became 18 minutes, and then it became 12 minutes, and then you got to cut your music and
just
work
go with it.
accordingly. Yeah, you can't get mad. You know, so you have to be very, very accommodating and all that stuff.
Great. Right. We're up to our favourite segment, as I always say. Stand by, Chong. These are called Buzz's rapid fire questions, and he rolls them out. So I'll let him do the intro, but go on, mate. Hit him.
Short answers, Chong, so just bear that in mind. But I'm just going to throw a few at you that might, a few curveballs, but see how we go. Bear with me. Okay, so the first one, besides keys, what other instruments do you play?
Nothing.
I love it. I didn't know that about you. I thought, I wonder if
Do you
he
have an
does
interest
play.
in any other instruments or no?
Well, I've a little late now.
yeah, never too late.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And, this question might be void, but your favourite... No, it's not. What's your favourite on-stage performance?
My favorite on stage performance, probably, working with John Farnham and Kylie Minogue and Ray Charles and Anthony
Did you work with
Waller.
Ray?
Yeah,
Ray Charles.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
That's incredible. Who's your favourite musician?
My favorite musician is Herbie Hancock. For those who don't know, he's a brilliant jazz pianist.
Yep.
Yeah, very good-looking bloke too.
We're all nodding. Yep, we all know who he is. All right, next one is, what scares you?
You.
Mate, oh, come on.
When-
What really
when
scares
you're-
you?
When you're angry.
I do get angry sometimes.
No, you don't.
My age scares me.
But you're very young at heart. You still laugh and
Well,
joke.
you know, the reality sits in you. You might be young at heart, but when you look in yourself in the mirror every morning, you go, "What the f happened?" Yeah.
It's still a good looking head of hair. I'm very, very jealous. Final one, mate. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Best piece of advice. My mother told me, think of others before you think of yourself, and that's what I do always. when I'm in a social situation, I always think of everybody, and I try to look after people who are a little lost in the social situation or in a meeting or something. And I guess it extends to my whole life. Like be considerate of others, and she always said, be humble, Chong. I try to be humble and not get ahead of myself. Yeah, I think that's good advice. Don't let anything get to your head.
It sure is.
Yeah.
Yep, that's a great way to wrap up that one. So thanks, Chong. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and I think that's a great way to wrap up the show. Unfortunately, we're out of time. As much as we could keep talking forever, I think that's a great point to finish on. Hey,
just call me Confucius, master of confusion.
There you go. You heard it here first. Hey, Chong, thank you very, very much for joining us
Thank you.
on An Eventful Life. We really do appreciate your time. Congratulations on everything you've achieved so far and everything I'm sure you've got to come into the future. So
yeah, thank you. I really had a great time and a lot of fun, and thanks very much to you guys, and best of luck with your podcast.
Thank you.
When you become famous and I'm huge in America, just remember, I did your early ones.
You sure
Do
did.
not forget.
Chong's writing the next jingle.
I know. Look at the way he's looking at me too. But no, look, we have a genuine future Hall of Famer in the room here, and I'm so happy that you could come and have a chat with us, Chong. So thanks again. It's so good to see you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to An Eventful Life. And if you like what you hear, don't forget to subscribe to listen to more episodes. I'm Brad.
And I'm Shane, and this podcast is produced by EOS Creative.
See you next time on An Eventful Life.